Sean, can we have Dr. Mitra?
Sean, can you hear me?
Yeah. So, Dr. Mitra, welcome. I'll just give a brief about you. So, everybody, please welcome Dr. Amrit Krishna Mitra. He's the head of the department in Gov't General Degree College in Singrur, Kolkata. He acquired his undergraduate degree from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, and then he moved for his postgraduate degree to IIT Kharagpur. Post that, he did his Ph.D. in at University of Calcutta, based on synthesis and photophysical studies of heterocyclic compounds, with more than a dozen publications to his name in reputed journals across the globe. Dr. Mitra has also penned a book on practical organic chemistry under the new CBCS curriculum. He is also in the editorial board member of several research journals of international repute. He has received several recognitions and awards from numerous reputed organizations of India. Dr. Mitra is involved in various activities related to Olympiads organized by Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, TIFR, Mumbai. He also happens to be the member of the Executive Council of the Association of Chemistry Teachers. So here I present Dr. Mitra to you. Dr. Mitra, please go ahead.
Thank you. Sean, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Okay, please allow me to share my screen.
Yes, sir, you can do it now. I've given you the rights.
क्यूट लग रहा है।
I'd request everybody to go on mute now.
Dr. Mitra, your mic has been muted. Can you please unmute? Can you please unmute yourself? I guess you're muted. Yeah.
Screen is visible?
Yeah. Can you just start a slideshow?
Okay, okay.
So it would be more easily visible and no background would be there.
Sure.
Perfect, sir. Perfect. Please go ahead.
Sean, is the pointer visible? Please check.
Yes, sir. The pointer is visible as well.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you, wherever you are. It is a great privilege for me to present my topic, the art of designing a multiple choice question in front of you. As we all know that designing a good multiple choice question is an art, and it is imperative for all of us, especially in today's scenario, that we learn how to evolve into such an artist. I shall try to make this presentation into one that aids in learning of framing quality multiple choice question. To start with, let us discuss the expected learning outcomes from this particular session. To exemplify the principles of designing good multiple choice questions for assessing the higher order thinking skills. Obviously, identifying the drawbacks in MCQ setting, and most importantly, to prepare sample MCQs for testing memory, understanding, application, analysis, evaluation, and creativity. Now, let us focus on the most important word, that is questioning. What do we mean by questioning? Believe me, questioning is fundamental to the quality of the teaching, learning, and assessment. You can ask me that what is a question? A question is a word or words used to find out information. Questioning is an important component of teaching learning process and is embedded in quality instruction and strategic thinking. Questions are used to teach as well as to assess students' misunderstanding and their understanding. And thus questioning plays a critical role in the overall success of a classroom. Now let us discuss the anatomy of a particular multiple choice question. The multiple choice question is one of the most popular item formats used in educational assessment, especially for the last 10 years. A typical multiple choice question has three parts: a stem that presents a particular problem, the correct or the best answer, and obviously several distractors. The stem may be in the form of either a question or an incomplete statement. The purpose of distractors is to appear as plausible solutions to the problem for those students who have not achieved the objective being measured by the test item. Conversely, the distractors must appear as implausible solutions for those students who have achieved the objective. Only the answer should appear plausible to the students. This is a simple example of an MCQ. This particular part is known as the stem, and these are the alternatives. Among such alternatives, these are the distractors, and this is the answer. Believe me, my friends, that multiple choice items are not a panacea. They have certain advantages and also certain limitations, just as any other type of test item. Here, the teachers need to be aware of these characteristics in order to use multiple choice items effectively. Now let us discuss the advantages of multiple choice questions. To start with, I shall mention two important V's. One is versatility and the other one is validity. Under the subheading of versatility, the important features are analyze phenomena, apply principles to new situations, comprehend concepts and principles, discriminate between fact and opinion, interpret cause and effect relationship, interpret charts and graphs, judge the relevance of information, make inferences from a given data, and obviously to solve problems. Now, under the subheading of validity, we know that it takes much longer to respond to an essay test question than it does to respond to a multiple choice item. The composing and recording of an essay answer is a slow process. A student is therefore able to answer many multiple choice items in the time it would take to answer a single essay question. This feature obviously enables the teacher using multiple choice item to test a broader sample of course content in a given amount of testing time. Consequently, the test scores will likely be more representative of the student's overall achievement in that particular course. After the two important V's, there comes reliability. Well-written multiple choice test items compare favorably with other test item types on the issue of reliability. Here, they are less susceptible to guessing than are true-false test items, and are therefore capable of producing more and more reliable scores. Their scoring is more clear-cut than short answer item scoring because there are no misspelled or partial answers to deal with. This is from the efficiency part. Multiple choice items are amenable to rapid scoring, which is often done by scoring machines. This expedites the reporting of test results to the students so that any follow-up clarification of instruction may be done before the course has proceeded much further. Essay questions, on the other hand, must be graded manually one at a time. So no doubt it is a much time needed process. Obviously, there are certain limitations of multiple choice questions, especially with respect to articulate explanations, display thought processes, furnishing information, organizing personal thoughts, with respect to performing a specific task, with respect to producing original ideas, and obviously with respect to providing more and more examples. There is a famous research survey report where we observe that if there are 5 alternative multiple choice items on test, then the chance of scoring 70% or higher with blind guessing alone is going to be 1 out of 64. If there are 15 number of 4 alternative multiple choice items on a particular test, then the chance of scoring 70% or higher by blind guessing alone is going to be 1 out of 8,670. And try to follow this particular result. If there are 25 number of 4 alternative MCQ items on a particular test, then the chance of scoring 70% or higher by blind guessing alone is going to be 1 out of 9,42,651. Yes, I do agree that there are some difficulty of construction. Good multiple choice test items are generally more difficult and time consuming than the other type of test items. Coming up with plausible disruptors requires a certain amount of skill. This skill, however, may be increased through study, practice, and experience. Now, let us discuss about some important guidelines for constructing the multiple choice questions or items. I shall come into the detail of each and every guideline with several examples in the later part of my presentation. This is guideline 1. Here the stem should be meaningful by itself and it should present a definite problem. Guideline 2. The use of internal or beginning blanks in completion type MCQs should be avoided. Guideline 3. Use a negatively stated stem only when significant learning outcomes require it. Otherwise, don't use it. Guideline 4. We should avoid irrelevant difficulty. Why should we? Guideline 5. We should not attempt to increase the difficulty of an item by using unnecessarily complex or unfamiliar vocabulary. Guideline 6. All distractors should be plausible. Guideline 7. We should avoid the use of complex multiple choice format. Guideline 8. The relative length of the options should not provide a clue to the answer. Guideline 9. We should avoid using none of the above and all of the above as an option. Here comes guideline 1. Guideline 1 states that the stem should be meaningful, by itself and it should present a definite problem. It is a common fault in MC questions writing is to have a brief, meaningless stem with problems. Definition revealed in the options. In such cases, it can be difficult to see the intent of the item after reading that particular stem. Let me discuss my first example of this particular session. Example 1. Non-metals cannot exist as solids at room temperature, can combine only with metals to form stable compounds, usually have more than 3 electrons in the outermost shell of the atom, are usually found on the left-hand side of the periodic table. Okay. In all the examples of my presentation, the answer is marked by an asterisk. Please keep it in mind. What is going to be our feedback? After following example 1, what is going to be our feedback? Here, students are faced with 4 true-false options. Each one is about non-metals, but only option C is correct. Okay. Furthermore, the 4 options cover a set of widely dissimilar chemical ideas, so that evaluation by comparison is not possible. The stem can be judged to be clearly presenting a problem if it forces the options to be parallel in type of content. Let us move towards another example. Here comes example 2. Here the stem is how many electrons could be found in the outermost shell of a non-metal atom. Alternatives are 1, 2, 3, and 4. The correct answer is marked by an asterisk. What is going to be our feedback? Here, example 2 demonstrates one way to make the STEM become a definite problem. Here, students can think about the correct answer rather than figuring out what the actual problem is. This is our next example. Follow it carefully. Example 3. Which of the following statements concerning electrochemical cells is correct? There is a spontaneous chemical reaction in each electrochemical cell. The EMF of an electrochemical cell is measured in joules. Here the anode is labeled positive while the cathode is labeled negative. The salt bridge provides electrons to complete the circuit. These are the alternatives. What is going to be our feedback? Please try and think. What is going to be our feedback? Obviously, example 3 is a poorly written multiple choice question. Why? Because here the STEM fails to present a definite problem and the 4 options appear to be a hodgepodge of chemical ideas. Now let us move towards another example. Example 4. What is the main function of the salt bridge in an electrochemical cell? Alternatives are supply ions moving to the 2 hub cells, draw electrons from 1 hub cell to the other hub cell, keep the levels of solution equal in the 2 hub cells, supply electrons to complete the circuit. What is going to be our feedback now? Example 4 obviously poses a clear, definite problem and assesses a single learning objective. This is the most important thing. Now, here comes guideline 2. Here in guideline 2, the use of internal or beginning blanks in completion type multiple choice questions should be avoided. Here intentionally, I have kept 2 examples in a particular slide so that it helps you to compare and to mention your feedback. Here in example 5, there is a big blank. Have the molecular formula CnH2n. Alternatives are alkenes, alkenes, alkanols, and alkanoic acids. But try to follow. Example 6. Which type of organic substance has the molecular formula CnH2n? Although options are same. What is going to be our feedback? Measurement specialists have advised not to use the completion format because the student has to retain the STEM in their short-term memory while completing the STEM with each option. If the completion format is unavoidable, if you need completion format in your STEM, then the omission should occur towards the end of the STEM rather than in the middle or at the beginning of the STEM as shown in example 5. So no doubt, example 6 is an improved version than example 5. Here comes our guideline 3. Use a negatively stated STEM. Use a negatively stated STEM only when significant learning outcomes require it. Otherwise, please don't use it. Most students have difficulty in understanding the meaning of negatively phrased items. They often read through the negative terms such as not, no, and list and forget to reverse the logic of the relation is going to be tested. Here also, I have kept 2 examples for your better understanding side by side. Here comes example 7. Which of the following solutions is the least concentrated? Options are 50 gram of calcium carbonate in 100 cc of water, 60 gram of sodium chloride in 200 cc of water, 65 gram of potassium nitrate in 100 cc of water, and 120 gram of potassium sulfate in 200 cc of water. Here also the options are same, but here the STEM is a bit more modified one. Have a look at it. Which of the following solutions is the most concentrated? What is going to be your feedback? Example 7 and example 8 assesses the same concept of chemistry, but some students may answer example 7 incorrectly merely because of the word list. Since list and concentrated are quite opposites, the phrase least concentrated is more difficult to understand than the phrase most concentrated. Research has confirmed that the change from least concentrated to most concentrated will increase the percent of correct responses. That is going to be our objective, right? Here comes another pair of examples. Example 9 and example 10. Here example 9, water type extinguisher is not suitable for putting out fire caused by burning alcohol, cotton, paper and wood. Try to follow example 10. Water type extinguisher is suitable for putting out fire caused by burning all of the following except, try to follow this word, except alcohol, cotton, paper and wood. I have told you earlier that in all of my examples, the correct answer is marked by an asterisk. What is going to be our feedback? Often negatively phrased stems are useful if we want to assess whether students can identify dangerous laboratory practices that may damage expensive equipments or result in bodily injury and which should not be carried out. Here, example 9 is an example of such an item. However, when a negative term is used, when you are interested to use a negative term, it should be emphasized by being underlined or capitalized. Replacing the negative term with the word except can sometimes improve clarity, as illustrated in example 10. Few students would overlook the negative element in the stem because the word except is deliberately placed at the end of the stem and is capitalized. Here comes guideline 4. We should avoid irrelevant difficulty. Obviously, we should avoid. The difficulty of an item should not be increased by incorporating more complicated information in the stem than is necessary. Let us compare two such examples, example 11 and example 12. Here in example 11, the stem is what volume of water should be added to 57.35 cc of 1.96 molar of NaCl in order to dilute it to 1.50 molar. Alternatives are 17.59 cc, 42.65 cc, 74.94 cc and 112.41 cc. Try to follow example 12 carefully. What volume of water in cubic centimeters should be added to 60 cc of 2 molar NaCl in order to dilute it to 1.5 molar? Options are 20, 40, 80 and 120. What is going to be our feedback? If we want to assess whether students can solve dilution problems using the concept of molarity, example 11 contains some confounding detail. The values used in example 12 will assess the same learning outcome and will avoid irrelevant sources of difficulty and error. This should be our objective, right? Here comes next guideline. We should not attempt to increase the difficulty of an item by using unnecessarily complex or unfamiliar vocabulary. Here comes two examples, example 13 and example 14. Follow the examples carefully. Here in example 13, the stem is which ions below is responsible for the color of the gemstone called topaz. Options are Cr3+, copper2+, Fe3+, and Mn3+. Try to follow example number 14. Which ion below is probably responsible for the color of yellow gemstones? Though the options are same. What is going to be our feedback? Here, we should not attempt to increase the difficulty of an item by using unnecessarily complex or unfamiliar vocabulary, such as the word topaz in example 13. This item aims at testing students' understanding of the types of ions that give a yellow color. But if students do not know that topaz is yellow, they are going to be lost. Example 14 is obviously a better measure of the same learning objective. The purpose of chemistry multiple choice test is to assess students' knowledge, students' understanding, and their problem solving ability, not at all on their reading proficiency.
Remote sama TV.
Here comes guideline 6. All distractors should be plausible. Here, teachers are encouraged to use common misconceptions of chemistry students for distractors. Try to follow example 15 and example 16. Ordinary soft drinks like Coca-Cola have a pH about 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that the correct answer is 3. Here, the stem is ordinary soft drinks like Coca-Cola have a pH about. So you can see that in both the examples, the stems are quite similar. But try to follow the alternatives. Here, the options are 3, 5, 6, and 8. Which one between these two you think a better one? Obviously, example 16. Why? Let me discuss. The correct answer in both the examples, 15 and 16, is pH 3. Many students have the misconception that a solution is drinkable only when the pH is around 7 plus minus 2. Thus, distractors with a pH value within this particular range is plausible. That means example 16 is a much better option than example 15. Here comes guideline 7. We should avoid the use of complex multiple choice format. Why should we? A complex multiple choice question consists of a list of potentially correct answers called primary responses, and a list of combinations of the primary responses are called secondary responses. Students have to select one of the secondary options in answering the item, as shown in example 17. Which of the following chemicals is or are contained in town gas? Hydrogen, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, gaseous naphtha. Try to follow the options. 3 only, 1 and 2 only, 2 and 4 only, 1, 3 and 4. Try to follow example 18. Here the stem is, what is the major constituent of the town gas in Hong Kong? The options are quite simple. Carbon monoxide, gaseous naphtha, hydrogen, and methane. What is going to be our feedback, dear friends and teachers? If students know that the primary response, sulfur dioxide, is untrue, they tend to pick option D, because sulfur dioxide does not appear in options A and D, and more than one primary response are usually included in the correct answer to a complex multiple choice question. Although the complex multiple choice format may make the items more difficult, research has revealed that it is less discriminating and reliable than the single answer format. Example 18 shows an improved version. The relative length of the options should not provide a clue to the answer. It is common to express the correct response more carefully and at a greater length than the distractors. However, research has indicated that longer options tend to result in higher response rates. Try to follow these two examples, example 19 and example 20. Why is zinc better than tin if we want to protect a piece of iron from rusting by electroplating? You can see that in example 20 also, the stem is quite similar, but try to follow the alternatives. Try to follow the options minutely. Here in example 19, the options are zinc is cheaper than tin, tin is quite toxic, zinc can prevent iron from contacting with water and air, zinc is more reactive than iron, thus rusting is prevented even when the metal plating is broken. What are the alternatives in example 20? The cost of extraction of zinc from ores is lower than that of tin. Tin is a toxic metal and causes incurable diseases. Zinc can prevent iron from contacting with water and air. Rusting is prevented even when the zinc layer is broken. What is going to be our feedback? In example 19, test-wise, students will notice that option D is much longer. Here the option D is much longer than the other options. Even without a good understanding of the concept, of sacrificial protection, they will guess that the correct answer is going to be D because it stands out from the others. However, in example 20, the correct answer is much more shortened and two distractors are rephrased to the desired length. Try to note these points. Here in example 20, the correct answer is quite shortened and two distractors are rephrased to the desired length. Although expanding the distractors can increase their specificity and plausibility, teachers should not load them with irrelevant lengthiness or false technicality. Got my point? Here comes next guideline. We should avoid using none of the above or all of the above as an option. Believe me, the use of none of the above and all of the above as options in multiple choice items is quite tempting to many teachers because they appear to fit easily into many items. However, many measurement specialists do not recommend the use of the option none of the above or all of the above. Try to follow example number 21 and example number 22 side by side. Which of the following substances would relight a glowing splint? The alternatives are carbon dioxide, chlorine, nitrogen, and none of the above. Here in example 22, the stem is quite similar. Which of the following substances would relight a glowing splint? But here the alternatives are carbon dioxide, chlorine, nitrogen, and oxygen. What is going to be our feedback? The correct answer for example 21 is option D. A student may explain it in this way. The correct answer is none of the above. As everyone knows, hydrogen relights a glowing splint. Another student may be surprised to hear that explanation. What? The correct answer is not hydrogen, but sulfur dioxide. It does not matter. Neither gas is listed. Thus, the correct answer could be selected just based on some misinformation. The item may be modified to form example number 22. Another pair of examples. Example number 23 and example number 24. Which statement is true of most plastics? They have no reaction with acids. They can be molded easily. They are quite flammable and all of the above. Here comes example number 24. Which statement is true of most plastics? No reaction with acids, difficult to be molded, non-flammable, and good conductors of it. What is going to be our feedback? The use of option all of the above is also problematic. Example 23 is poorly constructed because a student may know that two of the three options offered are correct, and this information can clue the student into selecting all of the above option, that is option D. Thus, the option format allows students to select the correct answer on the basis of only partial rather than complete knowledge of the item. No doubt, example 24 is an improved version than example number 23. Till now, the examples I have discussed, they are from chemistry background. Now let us discuss some multiple choice questions from other disciplines as well. Let us compare two such examples. Example number 25 and example number 26. California contains the tallest mountain in the United States. It has an eagle on its state flag. It is the second largest state in terms of area. Was the location of the gold rush of 1849. Here in example number 26, the stem is a bit more modified one. Try to follow it. What is the main reason so many people moved to California in the year 1849? California land was fertile, plentiful, and inexpensive. Gold was discovered in central California. The East was preparing for a civil war. They wanted to establish religious settlements. What is going to be our feedback? The stem is the foundation of the item. I told you earlier. After reading the stem, the student should know exactly what the problem is. and what he or she is expected to do to solve it. If the student has to infer what the problem is, the item will likely measure the student's ability to draw inferences from some vague descriptions rather than his or her achievements of a course objective. Obviously here, example number 26 is much better than example number 25. Another pair. Example number 27. If the pressure of a certain amount of gas is held constant, what will happen if its volume is increased? Alternatives are: the temperature of the gas will decrease, the temperature of the gas will increase, the temperature of the gas will remain the same. Try to follow example number 28. If you increase the volume of a certain amount of gas while holding its pressure constant, the temperature will decrease, increase, remains the same. What is going to be our feedback? Rather than repeating unnecessary words or phrases in each of the alternatives, place such material in the stem to decrease the reading burden and more clearly define the problem in the stem. Obviously, example number 28 is much better than example number 27. Another pair, let me discuss another pair. A word used to describe a noun is called an adjective, conjunction, pronoun, verb. Try to follow this particular problem. Example number 30. A word used to describe a noun is called an adjective, a conjunction, a pronoun, a verb. Which one of these two you consider a better problem? Let us see. The word "and" in the stem of the example 29 above serves as a clue to the correct answer, adjective. Because the other alternatives begin with consonants, the problem has been corrected in the better example by placing the appropriate article "an" or "a" in each alternative. Undoubtedly, example 30 is much better than example number 29. Another pair for you. When conducting library research in education, which of the following is the best source to use for identifying pertinent journal articles? Options are a guide to sources of educational information, current index to journals in education, resources in education, the International Encyclopedia of Education. What is our example 32? Follow it carefully. When conducting library research in education, which of the following is the best source to use for identifying pertinent journal articles? A guide to sources of educational information, education index, resources in education, the International Encyclopedia of Education. What is going to be our feedback? When a word or phrase in the stem is also found in one of the alternatives, it tips the student off that the alternative is probably be the answer. So here, example 32 is much better than example 31. Here you can see a blank slide. I have intentionally left this slide blank, and I would request all of you to put a quality multiple choice question here, just based on what I have been able to share to you through this particular presentation. Dear friends, before framing a good multiple choice question, please, there are some useful hints for you. Please go through it carefully. Base each item on an educational or instructional objective of the course, not trivial information. Try to write items in which there is one and only one correct or clearly based answer. The phrase that introduces the item, that means the stem, should clearly state the problem. Include 3 to 5 options for each item, right? Test only a single idea in each item. Be sure wrong answer choices, that means the distractors, are at least plausible. A question has to be thought out well enough to make it an ideal one. Believe me, This is the most important point. One has to invest a lot of time in it. Once a question is framed, the maker, the question maker should go back to it after a few days' time and attempt to improve it. Incorporate common error of students in this practice. The position of the correct answer should vary randomly from item to item. Avoid overlapping alternatives. The length of the responses should be about the same within each item, and it should be preferably short. There should be no grammatical clues to the correct answer. These are the references that helped me to design this particular presentation. If you want, I can share to you. This is the most important part of my presentation. This is the acknowledgement part. Initially, at first, I want to thank Professor Brijesh Pare, the President ACT, the most respectable person. I want to thank Professor Brijesh Pare sir for inviting me to present myself in this particular workshop come webinar. I would also like to thank Professor D.V. Prabhu, the General Secretary of Association of Chemistry Teachers. Dear teachers, please follow these two names, Professor Savita Ladaje and Professor Ankush Gupta. They are the masters. They are the masters of making such multiple choice questions. I am quite thankful to both of them for taking their time and to guide me for the last few years. I would also like to thank Professor S.P. Singh, the Secretary of ACT East Zone. This is a quote to you from my part. Actually, I believe in this particular quote. Framing a good multiple choice question is not in any way less than a research work. Please keep it in mind. You may be a good researcher, but in order to frame a quality multiple choice question, this is also another type of research work. I have given my email ID here. For any query, you can contact me. I would be delighted to stand by you, to help you, to support you. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Amrit. And it was an amazing presentation. And from the comments also, I could see everybody is very happy. And now I would like to invite Dr. Pare to just have a word, and then we would move ahead.
Yeah. What could be the better conclusion of a 2 days webinar than this lecture of Dr. Amrit Mitra? A power-packed and very eloquently spoken speech. Dr. Amrit Mitra has always been a very meticulous in all of the things. Whatever he does, he does it meticulously, and that we have seen. And in fact, he's a wonderful designer of a question. And see the last slide where he was mentioning that designing one quality question is not less than important any research work or publishing a research paper, because that much of labor you need to put into that. You have to have a concept first, then you have to go for all the literature, the authentic literature, and then from conceiving an idea to design a question is it's a long and circuitous process. And Dr. Amrit Mitra, you have stolen a show, and the kind of the suggestions and the kind of comments as I was reading the feedback was wonderful, and really you have put a lot of energy into your presentation. And I hope at it's the fake end of the webinar, we are just completing it, and it was full of energy. And please keep guiding us. Please stay with us all the time for such ventures. Thank you very much, Dr. Amrit Mitra. So nice of you. Thank you. Now over to Kaustubh.
Yeah. So before all of you go, I'd just like to remind that this is the webinar part of the Quest for Questions with the 6 speakers that you have heard. So part 1 is over. Part 2 is now starting from today onwards, and part 2 is the time for contemplation. You have heard everybody. You have taken your notes. We'll share whatever material we have with you, so that if you want to go through something else also, you can just have a look. And then, as I said yesterday also, what we'd like is each one of you comes up with 2 questions each. So that is what we are expecting out of this program from each one of you. And that would be the learning outcome of the whole quest for questions event for you. So I'd like to address a couple of issues that people have raised to me in the last one day. And the first one is about the certificates thing. So issuing of certificates is subject to submission of questions, and that we have already told you it's 2 questions. And the WhatsApp groups, some of you have left for some reasons, and all those who are there, it's for peer-to-peer learning that we have you on there. It's the WhatsApp groups would be dissolved this coming Sunday once we get done with this program. And we have some research papers, so we'd be sharing it via WhatsApp group or your email IDs. And now what you do is you start preparation, you start thinking on your questions, you start doing your research, you start picking up your topics, let the churning start in your head. And on Saturday morning, the link would be sent to you for the submission of the questions, and there you'd be submitting your questions along with the answers. Please do not submit your questions via WhatsApp or emails. Please do not submit your questions via WhatsApp or emails. I will be providing you a link to submit your questions. There you have to submit your questions, and then we take it forward. We'll put it up to our committee to examine them, and then they will be winners. So this is how we are going to go ahead. If you have any issue, we are available on our WhatsApp number that's there on the poster that you will see. So you can contact us or in the group. Also for the queries, you can send us your queries over email or WhatsApp and write the name of the person whom you are addressing your question to. So we'd have that person answer it for you. And anything else other than this, you can contact us on WhatsApp or through the email. So I'd like to thank each and every speaker and each and every question author from my side. So this is all for today. And
Kaustav, can I ask you a question right now?
Yeah, please say, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to check with you. You've given different segments. Is it possible to have one question from one segment and one question from another segment? Will it be okay?
Yeah, there is not an issue. You can have one question from any segment. It could be from Topaz, Sapphire, or Emerald. So you can design it. And in the form, it would be mentioned that this question that you are putting up, for which class you'd like to put it up to, for which section you'd like to put it up to. So that is up to you to, decide whether this is for class 7, whether this is for class 9, whether this is for class 12. So depending upon the difficulty level, you can just take it through.
But the total number remains 2.
Yeah.
Correct?
What is the total number of questions?
2.
2 questions, and it could be from any subject, any topic in science.
And any class?
Any class, 6 to 12, any class as per your.
Thank you so much.
For each category, can we give 2 questions or on the whole 2 questions?
Overall,
Only 2 questions.
Is the
Okay.
minimum.
And the question have to be in an MCQ form?
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if you give 5 questions as well. It's all welcome. We'd
It's
consider-
okay?
Yeah. Aruna ma'am and Megha ma'am, you have raised your hand, please.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Kaustav.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask that in what format we have to submit the question? Will it be on PDF or JPG?
No. We'll share a link.
खुल गया दरवाजा.
We'll share
ये दरवाजा खुल गया खुद ही.
on the link. You need to put up your question. So until then, you can have it in Word format or any format you want in your notepad or anything. But then there you have to type the question along with the answers in clearly, and the correct answer choice has to be mentioned.
Sir, good afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Excuse me.
From